pace. We've got athletes using the draft power up as we speak. Group is getting smaller, kind of accordioning through this section. Guys are getting gapped off and back on. 2 more athletes back off the front of this group. Lionel Sanders pushing the pace. 800 meters to go, Sean.
Yeah, both. So we got a Lionel up there, top 5, 5th. Troutman, Costas really doing really well in positioning up at the front now. He's to the lead and he's pushing the pace. Brownlee again up to the front. This is going to be a close one at the finish line here. It's going to be all within a second for sure.
Absolutely, and it was a sprint finish on that first week, and Lionel Sanders was kicking himself because he felt like he went too early, and I would agree with his assessment there. He went a little too early and let the other athletes use him and his draft as a launch pad for when they wanted to go, but he wasn't sprinting against Alistair Brownlee then, so we'll see if Alistair maybe forces him to go a little bit early, but right now it's Ronnie Schildeneck goes off the front. Anthony Costas taking the sprint out early, 120 meters to go. It's Costas, Kunema, Canute. Costas still in the front. Kunema, Canute, bridging up.
Lionel making a move. Did Lionel get it?
Got it at the very end. I think he did. We're waiting
That's
for that.
going to be so close.
His shoulder, but he didn't. It was a virtual tie. We're going to have to go to the photo finish. Looks like Costas had it, but Sanders timed it to come around exactly at the finish line.
Yeah, that was a long attack from Schildeneck. Costas was positioned perfectly to sit behind him and make an attack when he started to fade. And Lionel coming way back with a really big attack, timed perfectly to what looks like a photo finish. I don't know if we're going to be able to pull a winner from two.
I'm getting official word, Sean, coming over our ticker that Costas was 1/200th or 2,000th, excuse me, of a second in front of Lionel Sanders. So Costas gets the win by an immeasurable amount physically, but it sounds like 1/2000th of a second after all that. So I will say thank you for that gap, Costas. You got me to call for the win. So we both did okay today, but amazing performance.
All right, so the race is over, all cleaned up. And so like I said, I'm put my money where my mouth is. And I don't know, some people probably are not going to understand why I'm, I guess, pressing this issue. But the fact is, after I did the video last week about the race, I had quite a few responses from pros saying, they felt that they wanted to make the race more fair and more transparent. And so I'm going to do it myself, and hopefully if guys feel the same, and I do believe a lot of guys feel the same, they'll follow suit and do the same process. And I don't think it needs to be, you don't need to do it for all your workouts and stuff. No one's asking that. But when you race in a professional level Zwift race, then you need to upload a minimum of 2, preferably 3 data files, showing that the numbers that you're putting up on Zwift are legitimate. And so why do we do this? Why? Because it's very possible. I've tested 6 meters in the last 2 weeks, and there is literally at 300 watts, there's a 40 watt spread between 6 different meters. So if you're on a device that's on the high end and I'm on a device that's on the low end, there's literally like a 15% advantage. And so we can't really weed out, if we just upload 1 data file, we have no idea where you are on the spectrum of accuracy. If we upload 2 data files, then we'll get a sense of where you are on the scale of accuracy. And if you upload 3 data files of the race, then we'll have a true, we can say if the numbers are very close, then we can, all of us pros can say, okay, those numbers are legit. I mean, it would be like statistically very low that you would have 3 meters all reading really high. So how did I do it? I paired my Wahoo kicker to Zwift. So that's my primary source of power, and that was mandatory. My secondary source was a set of Asioma dual pedals. I paired that to 1 Wahoo bolt. And then my tertiary source was a Stages dual-sided meter paired to another Element bolt. I then went to Zwift Power, which I believe I'm screen recording right now. And Zwift Power, if you create an account with Zwift Power, you can do what's called an analysis, a power analysis. And so I'm clicking on this right now. And so then you can see here, I've already created the analysis. You don't need to zoom in on this because I'm going to be screen recording it. I'm going to click here on the race. I already made the analysis. And I will, by the way, this is public, and I will upload it to the race when the results. So another cool thing about this thing is the results eventually will be up, and you can actually link your analysis to the race results so that I can log in, look at the results, and I can see first, second, third, fourth, fifths analysis just like this. And then I can say, okay, wow, those are great numbers. They're all looking good. And so now if you look down here, you can look at all this data. You can log into Zwift Power and go look at my data right now if you want. But I direct your attention here to my 3 sources. So as you can see, it crunched the numbers for me. You can see my graph over here. You'll notice my primary source, the Wahoo Kicker, actually at high wattages read the lowest of all 3 power meters. And then as we got longer, all 3 power meters pretty well read exactly the same. And then you can look over here on the right and actually see the exact number breakdown. So my 1 second power, according to the Wahoo Kicker, 1,035 watts. According to my secondary, 1,076 watts. According to my tertiary, 1,061 watts. Now you might say, oh, well, that's a fair spread, 3% high from the secondary. But keep in mind, the secondary is a pedal-based meter, the tertiary is a crank-based meter, and the primary was a trainer, so it's literally the last in the chain. So you would expect to see slight reading differences based on drivetrain losses moving from front to back. But going down the list here, let's just skip to 5-minute power, for instance. Wahoo Kicker to Zwift, 418 watts. Asioma Duo, 411. Stages Duo, 407. So in that particular one, could even be reading 2% high. Then we move down to the 10-minute, 385 for the primary, 388 for the secondary, 384 for the tertiary. So literally 4-watt spread between 3 meters. And then finally the 20-minute, 378, 378, 376. A 2-watt spread in my 20-minute average power. I don't know what more I could give. There's literally nothing. I don't think I could put a 4th meter. I don't know where I would put it to continue to show that the data, my data, is accurate. So I hope in doing this that my pro, and I'll do this for every race, that the guys racing me feel if you get beat or if you beat me, you feel that you beat someone who's putting out legitimate power, no fudging of the data, nothing's reading high, and there's only one way to do that, and that's through uploading this analysis. So put my money where my mouth is. There it is. That's the data. I really don't care if we do or do not do this. I just feel it's my duty, I guess, as someone who's done a lot of racing on Zwift, who sees the potential for this. I mean, this could turn into something real. We really could pioneer e-racing because they haven't made this mandatory in the esports side. A lot of the top guys do it, but a lot of guys still don't do it, and it's not mandatory, and they don't DQ guys for it. And so we could truly, as professional triathletes, set an example for esports in general. And this is the best you can do right now based on the current technology, is to compare the 3 sources. And if you've got data that's way out of whack, then unfortunately you're going to be pulled from the results. And it also, the beauty of this, if you do a couple of these analyses, and you'll see in my my folder here, I've done a lot of analyses in order to see what meters are reading high, because I don't want to cheat. I don't want to win with a high meter. I want to beat you fair and square. And the only way to do that is to find out where do all your meters stand, where does your trainer stand in the spectrum of power readings. And you do that by comparing 3 meters preferably. and then you can swap one out and do another comparison if you have 4 or 5 meters. So this is meaningless if the guys don't want to do it. No problem. If you guys don't care, don't want to do it, I truly don't. It doesn't matter to me. I know I can compete even if my meters, even if I'm in a place where meters are reading high and low, I still can compete. And I'm just doing it for the fun of competing. But if you want to take it to the next level, set an example, really pave the way for esports in the future. We do have the potential. We're such a small group. We do have the potential to do this. And I do feel like a lot of guys have the desire to do this. So I guess after this video, we'll find out how much guys actually have the desire to do this and to compete as absolutely fair as you can compete in esports. So I'll be interested to see where it goes. Otherwise, great race. Got beat at the line. Costas had a perfectly timed long attack. Beat me at the line fair and square. Excellent race. And I'm hungrier than hell for the next one. So thanks for tuning in. And I think we take a break next week from the Zwift races, but the week after that we'll be back in full force. And after a flat one like this, I'm expecting we're headed up to Alpha Zwift or something like that.
Okay, we've been asked
Wednesday,
to validate
April
our
29th, 9:38 a.m. on
I've got a
race
5
day.
kilo weight here to validate
I
our
have my
scales.
tax
Can you turn
trainer.
it on?
Secondary power meter is the
Okay, put
stages, which
0.0
I'll
kilo
calibrate
on the scale.
real quick.
And put the weight on.
Calibration
Okay, put 5
successful.
kilos.
Head over here.
Okay,
See,
let's
I'm in a
reset to
full
0.
kit. Wow. And then we'll do
Put 0
the weight.
0 on the scale.
40 pounder,
Okay, on I go.
18.7 kgs. So I'll convert that later and then take the difference once the scale clears.
Okay,
Step on it.
57.6.
There we go.